Welcome again to the Marketing Psychology Tips for LSPs and Freelancers, Part 2. This is basically a continuation in the series of our marketing webinars that we perform here at Profecta BDI. So, what are we going to talk about today? Basically, it all revolves around marketing psychology and marketing communications. Because you can use these marketing communications to attract the right customers, to write your content marketing and basically use it in business and life in general. So we're going to talk about personality types, or let's say the patterns that we have for decision making. They're called internal and external, options and procedures. Last time we discussed, let's say, towards and away from. So people who are motivated by benefits and prevention, and how we're convinced whether we need to see something, read, hear, or do. Today, we're also going to talk about the cognitive bias. It's a psychological phenomenon that we all have. But basically, we will see the duality of it, how we can use it to our advantage, basically, and what we can avoid to prevent certain situations in marketing. And then we're going to discuss other, let's say, online persuasion tips, recap all of it, and at the end, I will talk about a little about our services that can help you further, let's say, take your marketing to the next level. Okay. So, a few words about me. At the beginning of the presentation, why do I have the right to talk about it? My name is Zoran Metikoš, and I work as an LSP business development consultant and growth mindset coach here at Profecta BDI. I used to work as a translator, project manager, operations manager, and business developer at LSPs. And by education, I'm a linguist, an MBA, and a professional coach. Okay, here you have my contact data if you want to add me on LinkedIn. Since this is online presentation, I would like to introduce some rules for our nonverbal communication. So when you come to the, let's say, Q&A section, you can raise your hand if you want to talk, if you want to discuss certain things with us. During the presentation, you can always use yes or no, let's say, as an answer in the chat box. You can use emoticons, of course, as you wish for support and sharing your, let's say, ideas. And in the chat and poll sections, you can share your ideas with us. And now I would like to launch our first poll, asking you how you're feeling today. So your names will not be recorded. Here you only have the word cloud. I'm just curious to see how you're doing this, let's say, early afternoon. It's not morning anymore, at least here in our region. Okay, you can type your response and submit. Energized. Good. Okay. I love to hear this energized. Somebody is still sleeping. Okay. I think that these topics will help you wake up. Great. Good. Okay. Okay. So these are all the things that we need to start this presentation. Superb. Fantastic. Fabulous. Magnificent. Okay. All the beautiful adjectives. Okay. Thank you very much for your responses. Now, when I start talking about marketing, I like to mention the story about the table, where the table represents your business. This metaphor is very useful because you can see, what basically makes your business stable. Every business, let's say, has 4 legs. In your case, if you're a translator, be it a translation agency or a freelance translator, you offer your translation services. Then you also collaborate with certain people that help you deliver your services the best with your customers, and you have to use your marketing and sales to spread it. just to make sure that you have constant inflow of customers. So if one of those legs is not stable, your table can get rickety and the money can fall off the table, and we don't want that. We want to bring money to the table, won't we? Okay. When talking about marketing, the first thing is to have customers in your focus. In this way, you reach the so-called customer centricity, where everything in your marketing communications revolves around customers. So it means that the customer, in this case, is the hero of your story, and you're just their guide. This is basically the mission of any business, the reason of their existence. So to help you be more customer-centric, I would advise you, to always ask yourself, what do you do with your translation? What problem do you solve for your customer? What result do you create for your customer? How exactly do you get the result? And how will your customer's business be better with your translation? Once you discuss these questions with yourself, internally with your team, you will be more focused on what your customer will get from you. So the customer will feel the benefits. This is a solid foundation for your value proposition. Now, before we start talking about different patterns of decision making, I would like you to read these 4 texts because they refer to 4 different types of people, and tell me which text works best for you in terms of, let's say, which one would convince you most. Okay, and I will also launch a poll, so that we see, for example, which one is the winner in this case. Okay, so maybe I will read it aloud first. The first text refers to the internal type. Here is information about the services, about our services, so you can decide whether we are the right translation partner for you. Number 2, this is a list of our customers, and here is what our customers are saying about our translation services. Number 3, let's look at all possible levels of collaboration so that we can deliver compelling translation services for you. To order our translation services, you're supposed to follow these 3 steps. Okay, now let me see this poll. Okay, launching. So let me see the votes. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which text would convince you on a website or social media platform or in a brochure, whatever marketing resource? Okay, the winner is none. Okay, I'm still waiting. Things are changing. I love to see this, Okay, so we've got 8 responses, and the winner is number 3. It means options. Okay, now I will explain you, how these people think, in terms of making decisions. Okay, the first, let's say, division is called internal and external. People who have internal pattern, they are motivated to get information from outside sources and then decide, by themselves. They like to say, I have to listen to myself, I have to check it with myself. External people, they need an external input to make a decision because they're going to trust some other outside sources, and it's hard for them to make the decision by themselves because they don't trust their own reasoning that much. So, we have to choose our language and cover both of those, let's say, types. And you can use the sentences, for example, like these that I have on the slide for the internal and external. In terms of, let's say, internal linguistic and behavioral pattern, you can say, okay, it's always up to you. Is this according to your criteria? What do you think? here is the information you may take into consideration. So these people, this kind of people, let's say they don't react very well if you have very direct calls to action, like buy now, register now, because they have to think about it first. So maybe you can add, for example, what do you think? Could we collaborate? Or the external type, you can use sentences like, here is what our customers think about us. Okay, so you're going to get their attention. Let's see what they're thinking, what their experiences are. Those people like to check all the reviews, and everything that they can read about you and, I don't know, Google you and stuff like that. The customer says that we do our services in this way. We would strongly recommend that you try out, for example, our service. These people they react very well, basically, to the calls to action that are very direct. That will direct them and that will help them make the decision faster. Okay. Another set that I would like to explain is called the options and procedures. So these are, let's say, all, let's say, patterns that we all have, but they heavily depend on the context. We all have all of them, but sometimes, for example, we can be internal in a business context, but we can be very external, let's say, in our personal context. The same goes also for this one, options and procedures. People who have this options pattern, they like to have many alternatives, that they have to choose from many things. So this is going to satisfy them, and they're going to be interested in this, So, for example, if you have in your marketing communications sentences like, let's look at the options. There are also alternatives how we can collaborate. The choices are as follows. So they're going to be attracted to this pattern. Those who are, let's say, the procedure people, if I may put it this way, they like to follow, let's say, set ways. They always believe that there is the right way to do things, and they need a certain procedure to feel, let's say, this security, to buy something. So when they see sentences like, this is the step-by-step procedure, this is how you can buy our translation services, the process is as follows, they're going to be satisfied and convinced, let's say, to read further and to investigate about you and hopefully approach you for your translation services. Okay. Another, let's say, psychological phenomenon that you can use in your marketing communications, but in sales or in life in general, is called the cognitive bias. This is basically the concept that we all have to a certain extent, because once we receive communication from outside, we tend to either generalize things to make our lives easier because we cannot process all the content that we get from the outside sources. We like to delete things, or we have to delete things, because we cannot store everything in our brain, or we like to distort, let's say, certain information so that we can, let's say, live easier. There are many confirmation biases, but today I would like to talk about 4 that you can use, let's say, to your advantage, and that you can understand, so to avoid it in your behavior. The first one is called default consensus bias. So this is the tendency in us that we overestimate the degree to which, for example, others agree with us. It means that we have, for example, opinions, and we think that everybody thinks like this. Like when we say everybody hates Google Translate, but is it true? Everybody hates, I don't know, ads. So this is for this reason, it's important to check, our website and all other communications with others so that you don't get trapped into this. The curse of knowledge means when we know a lot of things and we cannot unknow what we know. Okay, so for example, if you know that there is everything to know about, let's say, translation, and we do it every day, we think that everybody knows how it works, that we have, I don't know, translation tools, TMS systems, and other, let's say, TP approaches and things like that. But basically, it's not true. This is why I always have to think, when you are writing text for your website or any other content, that people don't know about it. So first, this, presupposition in your mind. So you can also imagine, okay, can a 15-year-old child understand this? Okay, so this means that we've done a good job, because, people now spend only a few seconds on our website, and when they're, reading our brochures, they have to understand immediately, what you're talking about. The third, let's say, bias is called the confirmation bias. This is the thing, when we like to confirm our opinion by, something like, all BMW drivers are aggressive. And then you see 2 or 3 of them on highway, and then you confirm, yes, this confirms my opinion, because I saw the 3 cases. But is it really the case? Do you have the statistics? How many samples did you use, to create this opinion? For example, this can be also in translation world used to your advantage, because some people say, okay, my cousin speaks French, so she can translate for us. This is let's say, one of those typical confirmation biases. But then you can use it, for example, on your website and say, okay, your cousin can translate from French, but would you use, let's say, her translation in the court of law? Okay, and the fourth one is called the recency bias. This basically means that we prefer fresh data over older data. We like everything that is, often trendy and new. Let's try this. Okay, this is new, but is new always better? I guess it isn't. For example, if you look at many books now that are published, they're mostly content marketing on certain people, because they want to, I don't know, sell some courses or programs. But if you look at older books from 60s and 70s that are written, let's say, for educational purposes, you can learn much more than from those that are new. Also, we like to, let's say, use the trends, in marketing, just to relate them to us, because we're going to attract the attention of people. This is what you see, for example, in LinkedIn or, I don't know, Facebook, people mentioning ChatGPT and other trends, because they check, on Google Trends, what's trending now and how I can relate it to my business, so to get the attention. So this is all up to you if you're going to use this tactic. Okay. Now, how to apply all of this on your website. So you remember from the very beginning when I mentioned the value proposition, that you can use all of this to effectively write, what you are offering. A value proposition is basically the value you are offering to your customer that the customer will get when you resolve the problem for them, or you help them fulfill their interest or a certain ambition. Okay, basically how they're gonna, profit from you, how they're gonna benefit from your service. And in this busy world today, it has to be very short and very effective. For this reason, I chose the example of Zoom, because I guess that all of you know it, how they manage it, how they manage to write who the site is for in a few sentences, how they manage to mention the benefits, how relevant it is for the visitor, and that they speak the language of the visitor. So there is no technical language. Everybody can understand this. So you see, for example, that they have, one platform to create. These blue letters are alternating there. So it's create, connect, and innovate. So one platform to do all of this. Okay, this sounds very interesting, but very general, says nothing. But here they talk about let's say, the results of the transformation that the customer is gonna experience by using Zoom. So they say it will bring your teams together so you can collaborate. You can reimagine workspaces. So you work better with Zoom. You engage new audiences. So it means, and you delight your new customers. So you can also use it for selling. So all on the Zoom platform you know and love. I found this very interesting. Okay, we all know Zoom, but love. Do we love Zoom? This is one of those, marketing, let's say, tactics to try to elicit emotion, to try to evoke emotion. Why? If you remember, those of you who were last time here with us, emotion sells, because we always buy based on our emotions, and we post-rationalize our buying decision. This is the thing. So this word love is basically here to serve just one purpose, just to make you think about love. Okay. The next slide is called Follow Your Heart. The thing here is that you mentioned all the details. For example, once the user gets to another subsection of your website, you describe all the processes, but you are not directly inviting them to, let's say, buy your service, or to put, let's say, a call to action, ask for quote now, buy now, contact us right now. Sorry. The thing is to describe it, and then you say something like follow your heart. This is very in line, with the internal, let's say, linguistic and behavioral pattern that I mentioned at the very beginning, because there has been a great customer shift, from, let's say, 30 years ago to now. People before, needed salespeople and marketing people to explain the details, but nowadays everybody can check everything, wherever you go, how, is it cheaper, and the experiences, reviews, you name it. Everywhere you check, you can see how somebody is working, And in this way, you also tell them, okay, now it's up to you. You have everything here and you can decide. So you're creating a better image, if you have follow your heart approach. Okay. There are some other tips. There are plenty of persuasion techniques that you can use in marketing. But let's say these are most common, and I'm going to try to elaborate on them and why it's also used in the marketing psychology and behavioral economics. Let's say the first one is play hard to get. This expression also has a lot to do with, let's say, the influencing factors. Because let's say around 50% of people are going to decide to buy a service because it's limited. That's why you often see a limited offer on only 2 days to apply. Because this pushing you to decide quickly. If there is some exclusivity, probably will make you decide now. Be expensive. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that you are that you have exorbitant prices per words or per hour, whatever you have, that you are prohibitively expensive, but that you check, where you are positioned with your services. You check the competition, what they offer, what the prices are, and try to be in the quadrant, where your services are, let's say, priced. And then with this, you show your value. That you distinguish between the price and value. What will the customer get? If they manage, let's say, to enter new markets, 3 or 4 countries due to your translation, they're going to make millions. So what is the value of this? And the price that they paid? So think of, how much will they get? So they make sure that they understand, what they will get. Be hard to get rid of. Okay, this is also a very simple advice, but it has its underpinning in the market managerial economics and behavioral economics. It means that you create the so-called asset specificity. If you have certain technology, if you have certain processes that will let's say, lock your customer into a relationship so that they cannot switch easily to another one. Now, for example, that you see the example of, let's say, different telecom providers, you go there and then you switch easily. Now, before this, customer switching was not possible. And this is basically what you don't want to happen. If you are, let's say, using very generic approaches that everybody does, this customer switching is possible. So think about all the ways that you can, be very specific in either your technology, people, or workflows. These are the three possibilities where you can provide much better quality. And the fourth tip is called don't offer large incentives. Why I'm mentioning this? Because often we see that in exchange for a review or a rating, translation agencies offer, let's say, okay, free translation, 50% discount. It's not necessary, because you can only offer, let's say, one page for free or 5% discounts for the first 10 pages, and the people will be attracted. They're going to test you. You're going to satisfy all those different patterns, and they will probably enter into a business relationship with you much easier, because they will know you, and you will also get let's say, give them the idea about the price and value. Okay. And one of the last things that I wanted to talk about today is called the FOMO. For those of you who don't know what this means, what this acronym stands for, it's the fear of missing out. It's one of the, let's say, marketing tactics that has been used widely recently, where, for example, companies state, okay, if you don't buy these services, you're going to fail. If you don't buy our, vitamins, you're going to die. I'm exaggerating now, but for you to get the idea what this is, because fear is also emotion. And as I mentioned previously, there are some companies or people who like to, let's say, persuade or manipulate even, using fear. In propaganda, it's often happening. This is a very delicate issue. It can be very persuasive, especially for those people who have external linguistic and behavioral pattern. But I would not advise to use it that much, If you feel that you can use it, then use it, let's say, in the future pacing sentences, where you are, let's say, talking about your services, and you say that if you use our services, translation services, you will reach, 4 markets, and you will increase your profitability. Whatever you mentioned is good. So this is, let's say, the positive future pacing. There are some companies that basically resort to negative future pacing and use fear. So if you don't use our services, you may fail. If you don't buy our, let's say, translation tool, you will be lost. This can create very negative customer experience, and it's very important, today to create it positively so that people feel good, that they see that you are good, that you can provide good translation, that they see the benefits of your translation. But if you like to use this, and if you think that it's necessary in certain contexts, maybe the best tip would be to use, let's say, a very strong call to action after your scaring message. So if you don't use our translation, you won't reach, Central European markets. Call us now, But again, I believe that this is not a very good tactic. Okay, so in the first 30 minutes, I tried to explain you some other, let's say, marketing psychology tips. The way people think, those linguistic and behavioral patterns that are very important, how emotions play an important role in marketing, how it all affects the customer behavior. And I hope that you gained new insights about this. Now, I would like to talk about our academy, what we offer. So if you're interested in topics like this, what is soon coming is a workshop called Fortify Your Marketing. It's basically a 3-day workshop on 3 different days, and it takes only 4 hours of your workday, so you can continue with your business activities afterwards. Of course, if you want to learn more about it, you see that I used learn more here. So this is not, let's say, a very direct call to action, but a transitional one. We are also applying all the principles, practice what you preach. So let's say the direct one would be register now. So I'm curious, how would you feel if it was like register now, buy now? Learn more is like, I like to compare it, when you're talking to, I don't know, person that you like, or that when you're meeting somebody, would you say to them, okay, let's go for a dinner, or let's maybe have a drink, let's have a chat, then let's have a dinner. And then in the end, you can say, okay, do you want to marry me, once you know each other? If it's a very direct, let's say this is equivalent to, do you want to marry me? Well, how? I don't know you. So use things like this, learn more. When you click learn more, okay, you will see, how we can help you with your marketing. So basically, this is a coaching workshop. We're going to discuss the present and future of your traditional marketing. So it's not going to be a typical lecture. So here I was like a bit lecturing, but there we will use your use cases. We'll talk about all the, let's say, necessary golden concepts in your marketing, a bit more about the psychology, and then we will analyze your website and social media for your new, but also for your existing customers. You can always rebrand yourself if you feel the need. And then we're going to see how it all applies in the so-called relationship-centric marketing, this building the customer experience that we hear everywhere nowadays. And how you can basically better decide if you're going to pay ads, boost posts, and how to effectively use your analytics, be it on your social media or Google Analytics for your website. And for those of you who stayed until the end, we also have a candy, a treat for you. It's 45-minute consultations until tomorrow for free. So if you want to register, you can scan this QR code, or you can click on the link in the presentation that you will receive per email after this webinar.
Profecta BDI, your trustworthy guide.